Welcome to Authentic Living with Roxanne, a place where we have conscious conversations about things that really matter in our lives. And now here's your host, Roxanne Derhaj.
Hi, everyone. It's Roxanne Derhaj again this week. So nice that you're tuning in again. Today I have I consider her a dear friend, Lucy Colangelo, with me. And Lucy's, and I've actually worked with Lucy going back about 3 years ago when I was creating a business plan for my business. And she helped me along the way when I was just beginning in my business. So Lucy, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Roxanne.
Thanks for being here. So I've got a bit of a bio that I'll read about Lucy, but I'm sure, as you'll see with Lucy's personality, that this is flat compared to what Lucy's about. So Lucy is a communication specialist. She's focused on awareness, strategic clarity, and taking action in your personal and professional life. For 18 years, she has supported organizations as well as entrepreneurs with marketing and communication services. Today, she focuses on furthering the work by developing success tools for improving leadership and decision-making for high-performance individuals. Shine On emerged on her work out of necessity for her clients to have a quicker, better way to achieve ultimate fulfillment and success in their business and in their lives. She knew she wanted to dedicate her career to helping people thrive. Now she's developed these unique tools in teaching, and she's thrilled to be living this vision and creating this vision into reality. Lucy is a graduate of business communications at Brock University, and she lives here in Niagara, as I do, with her husband and her kids. So Lucy, is there anything that I've missed that you'd like to share with the listeners?
No, that's where I'm at.
So awesome. So like I said, I had worked with you quite I think it's almost about 3 years ago now, when I was just, in the infancy, and you really helped me on my path, just kind of thinking more as a therapist into a business person. And I know how helpful it was for me. So Lucy, tell the listeners a little bit about where you're at and what your passion is. I know what your passions are, but and your personality. So I often say with Lucy, when you see Lucy, you meet Lucy, and she's got the most beautiful smile. She's so authentic that I don't know that it will come across in her voice, but I hope that it will today, so that you can get a sense of what people connect with Lucy. So wherever you'd like to start, Lucy.
Thank you, Roxanne. That's so flattering. I really do pride myself on my integrity and my commitment to supporting people along their journey, their path. My professional life has always been in communications and marketing. So business leaders, directors, VPs, I've always worked with those individuals, figuring out, what it is to be in business, how to get clear, how to connect with an audience, how to just perform at a better level and communicate well. And so in trying to figure out how to communicate well, what do you have to say, how to have that clarity in your voice, it gets really personal very quickly. So Shine On is that program that I developed. I launched it in January of 2018, so this year. And I've been figuring out how to support that clarity so that taking action is natural and exciting. And so that led into a personal development tool. And so it's a full circle type of moment where when you're personally clear in what you're doing, how you want to execute, it leads the business decision making. And so the personal clarity map, I have a picture of one of the handouts that I use. The personal clarity map feeds the professional clarity map. So they're the same formula. There's 7 steps, 14 questions. And I wholeheartedly believe that it can be that simple, even though it is dynamic and complex. So I like to ask a lot of questions. I like to leave things open-ended to allow for creativity and innovation and even curiosity in the business in terms of how to be authentic and real and still profitable and, perform well out there in the marketplace. So I pride myself in working with clients to help tool them up properly. And what the feedback's been so far has been things like, you make me so confident, I'm excited to post online. Or I had one client say, it's like I got an MBA in a day and stuff like that. So I like being very succinct. My programs are all one pagers. It's a big piece of paper, but it's still, we dial in and we sit and we focus, and it's all about that process of inquiry, being curious, asking questions, figuring out, are we clear, and then take the next step. So, that sounds like I've made something really big, really simple, but that was the goal.
So what do you find with people, right? Because I think oftentimes, when people start in business, sometimes they have a sense of what they want to do. What are some of the main, when I think of the word shine on, it means just shining into what you want. Mm-hmm. What's some of the biggest blockages or the main blockages that you see with business owners sometimes about getting connected to that real core message that they might have in their business?
Okay, so there's a few things that I could say. First thing I want to share is the actual meaning of shine on. So to give people context, it is based off of the existing process, the scientific inquiry process. So scientists use the idea that they experience the universe, the earth, and then they ask a question, they hypothesize something, and they formulate an experiment, right? There's this experiencing of life and asking the questions. So the shine part of my program is the asking of the W questions, all the who, what, where, when, why, all that stuff. There are specific W questions in the first 6 steps of the program. The 7th step, the last step, is the on part, and that's the how. So we work on our shine, we get clear, and then we turn it on and we take action. So get clear, take action, shine on. That's how that's come together, right? So to answer your questions about what I see happening with entrepreneurs and what's happening in the marketplace, what I'm experiencing personally with clients, there's a lot of distraction, noise, confusion, insecurity, doubts. There's like typical things that happen with people. And the number one thing that I deal with is this distraction factor into the how. So people are very drawn to the how when they don't have all the W. They don't have the shine. They just want to turn it on. So they want to skip the deeper step of really being clear as to the outcomes that they seek for their business. They sometimes even want to skip how they would actually transact. Why would money change hands? What is the value that you're creating and offering that warrants someone sending you money in exchange, right? So as an example, typical example happens all the time. A typical entrepreneur decides to have a business, has an idea, and the first thing they decide they need is a logo or a website. Or a brochure, graphics, some version of execution, some version of going to the marketplace and presenting themselves and trying to make a transaction happen. So that to me is distraction because it's not very confident, it's not very thoughtful and clear. And so I have decided, I've chosen to lead with this process, with this philosophy that I have in Shine On, and that is that there is this shine piece. We need to get clear about our mission, our vision, our goals, what it is that we're transacting against, the value we're creating, honoring who we serve. Who is that customer? What is the pain point we're solving for? All those W things, the W questions, they need to be clearly mapped and resolved. And it's not a process that takes a long time. It's just the process that happens before we start executing into the how, getting into marketing and sales and operations and innovating and looking at results and numbers and reporting. Like that's the effect of all of that first step of getting clear. So does that help illuminate?
Yeah, it does, because I think you're right. Everybody wants to go to metrics. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a brochure. I'm going to have a logo. I'm going to have a website, all those things. And then, like, I can think of myself too, Lucy, that when the white noise gets in the way, if you're not sure why you're doing what you're doing, you get distracted often. If you think of, your morning, right? Like how your morning's supposed to start. Ideally, we know what you're supposed to do. But if you know what the core areas are that you need to focus on first to your whole shine on process, you make sure those things happen first in your day.
Right.
Versus everything else, right? Somebody needs this, somebody needs an invoice, somebody needs you to tell you a little bit about this or that. And then before you know it, you're on everybody's kind of clock. And then before you know it, it's been 4 hours and it's like, oh my goodness, what happened here? It's been a day and I have been busy, yes. But I've been off track on my why.
Absolutely. And so I love that you say that, because in both the personal clarity map and the professional clarity map, which is these tools, these maps are what guide a session with me. And that's how clients work with me. They book sessions. So no one that works with me doesn't understand that we're going to go through the map. They know what the map is. We're talking about clarity. Clarity leads in the discussions and in the planning and in the executing of those goals. So the first question is why. So we don't have to spend hours on it. This isn't like some sort of meditative emotional journey that takes an hour every single morning. It's not like that. It's just that when you spend enough time getting clear on those W questions, you're faster. Your agility, your responsiveness, your just profitability goes up because you're momentum building and you're not hesitating. You don't have to think about what your core values are or what your mission is, or is that a client that aligns with what my work is, and is this a transaction that needs to take place? Like you make that effortless and clean and clear. It's the water is crystal clear. It's not murky at all. And when things start to get cloudy and murky, because there are things that change your day, you can have distractions, you can have things that come up. I mean, you want that. It's an organic experience to be working in a business. Where that falls. Like the training of knowing, oh, wait a second, this could fundamentally shift the definition of my business and how I create value. Or wait, this is just helping me get better at how I execute in the how department. Like which one are we in, and does it warrant my time? So on a typical day, my entrepreneurs, my leadership clients, I train them. You spend 15 minutes with your clarity map, your personal clarity map. That's the beginning of your day. You get clear so you can go to work and take action effectively. Then when you show up to work, you do spend a few minutes looking at that clarity map for the business and set your priorities. And this is a fluid thing that goes from one day to the next. So your productivity increases because you've trained yourself. Hey, I know how I start my day. I know how I end my day. And I know how I get clear in myself. So naturally, the outcomes are just like people are more confident, they're happier, they're more relaxed, and they just flow with things, are able to handle things that come at them. They're faster, they can build that momentum, get out there in the marketplace. The biggest thing that's been exciting for me is the confidence online. Like people saying, I've done my clarity map and now I just want to post and I want to be on Instagram and I get what the Snapchat thing is about and I have something to say on LinkedIn and I want to write an article. Like I'm crystal clear about how I create value and how I magnetize and attract clients to me. It's been brilliant. But this was 3 years ago, I wasn't very confident and secure in leading in that way and saying, hey, full stop, I'm taking over. I'm telling you how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And you're going to control your time. You're going to control your mind. You really got to take control of your mind here. and understand that that clarity, that focus, that dialing into it first is everything. It's the game changer. So when I was able to, come up with a way that was simple and something that can grow with a company that aligns with somebody that's a president, I've had people that are in the startup mode of researching a business. And what happens with them is they're like, oh my gosh, I totally get what it is to have a business.
Yeah.
Like I get how I create value and why someone gives me money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just get better at creating that value, whatever it is, product or service, create the value, make the transaction, have the exchange, and it just goes faster and you get better. And I mean, it's been really thrilling for me that the simplicity and the elegance of it has actually resonated and come through in the work. And I'm able to just do more of it. I'm faster too.
It sounds like it's your process, and now you've packaged it in a way, because I think of when we would spend time together was a lot of what you did with me.
Yeah.
Maybe not bundled with the brand, but it sounds like it was around that, because I often say, when you're clear, and I know what the clearer I've become, Lucy, is that I say a no to a lot of things. So before I'd be, oh, sure, I can do that. Oh, of course I can do that. You want to speak here, you want to do this. And the clearer that I've gotten, it's become, okay, is this where you want to be? Is this the market you want to be in? Who are you attracting? Of course, is this a customer that wants to continue working with you, or what's the value of that connection? But these are, when you kind of go like, all over the place, and you're not delineating where you need to be,
right?
It becomes tiring, and very tiring. And then you're like, oh, what am I doing? But when you slow down, like you said, and really think about it, and a coach, I mean, everybody, obviously, I often say everybody needs a coach or a mentor to be able to do that, because as entrepreneurs, you're on your own a lot. That I'm on my own a lot, other than when I'm coaching and speaking, those types of things. And sometimes it's good to kind of have those touch points to be able to say, okay, where are you? Where did you this quarter, this week? Where you were tackling XYZ? Where are you? And those touch points. I know for myself, Lucy, that's been vitally important for me. And I can get things done, but again, if I'm not clear in what I want to do, I'm as distractible as anybody else. The phone starts to ring, or somebody wants to have lunch, or, things happen in our personal lives. Absolutely. There's, that's life. But then at the end of the day, did I get to those touch points of the things that are moving me forward? Even if it's one that I need to do a 5 today, did I do that today?
And it's exactly, so here's the construct, the way I see it. So, and I'm really proud of the fact that this kind of process of inquiry and asking questions helps create the clarity.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that happens is, if I was to give a closed system, take control of how I train and educate, and say, do it this way, we would lose all the magic and the just the random serendipity, the special things that happen in life. We would lose that, because I would sterilize the environment. Mm-hmm. So we don't want that. We want that when the phone rings and there's this opportunity, we can entertain the concept, or we come across something online or consume some content that's inspiring, and we think, well, wait a second, how does this is, potentially shifting my business in some way. You want that to happen, that inspiration, innovation comes from these ideas that are, they can be bonkers off the wall from left field. Like, you don't know where they're coming from. If we don't have a methodology that allows for disruption, if you will, then we can't grow, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to create a system that allows for that, but then also gives that grounding. So that's why there are always questions, because the answers may shift. They're dynamic. We're organic. Like, we need to be able to flourish and grow and experience our environment, the people around us, go to events and things like this, and see how that helps enhance and illuminate what we're doing in our work. So continuously asking questions helps for that clarity to evolve as opposed to stagnate. Because the answer to a certain question 3 months ago And the answer today, that's the make or break it sometimes in some businesses, because that's how you defined yourself. So that's the limitations placed on the business sometimes. So for me, as an example, I started in January. I was laser focused on business owners. I only wanted to work with leaders, and I only wanted to do my business clarity process. That was it. There was no opportunity for anything else. I needed to be narrow. The feedback that came back to me was, I need this for my teams. Now that I'm clear, the people reporting to me need to know. I need to be able to share my vision and do some training around it. So my business had this evolution, and there was this stimulation of like, well, am I defining myself as now a trainer, an educator in this method, this philosophy that I've come up with that seems to really work for people,
Mm-hmm.
And so my definition of my business broadened. And I said, okay, I'm no longer specifically aligning myself as a business consultant and specialized in business planning at a high level of vision work with entrepreneurs. I'm going to broaden and include the teams and include the planning and team building, the sharing, some sort of experiential stuff, maybe retreats, maybe workshops. That's not clear. But there's this, like, I call it a little sandbox that I now have created to play in, because that's the feedback coming back. And so that's what led to the personal clarity map, because the teams needed it. They needed to be able to come to work, feel confident, feel self-assured that they create value and contribute to the business success. Mm-hmm. And they're empowered and happy to come in to do that work. The owner is elated that their employees are that passionate and dialed in and clear, and everybody just works better. They're happy people when they feel like, hey, I'm respected for my contribution, and that flows both ways. And then what ended up happening, Roxanne, this just happened in the last 2 months. I had employees and owners say, my kid needs this. My teenager, the one that doesn't know what he wants to do, but has to go off.
Right.
What are they going to do with their life? They need to have some. So the personal development tool, this Shine On Clarity Map, the self-awareness piece, the first piece, became this thing that now I have parents sending me their kids and saying, I want them to have this approach of that curiosity, the asking of the questions, so that they're more grounded and more confident in their lives. Mm-hmm. That to me bridges over into like mental health issues and in the kind of work that you must see, like people that are clear and confident in their lives. I'm deducing that they're happier people. I'm making
absolutely, because the people that that I might deal with on more mental health and mental wellness, the people that are not connected to who they are the ones that second guess everything, because they don't have that firm grounding of beliefs, values, assumptions about themselves, about the world, about connection, and that in turn when in second guessing, that kind of beats their self-esteem up all the time, and then they're starting to try to be validated outside of themselves, right? So yes, we have to connect, but I definitely need to kind of know who I am in order to connect effectively with you as a friend, or my son, or a partner, or a colleague, or another business. Because if I'm not sure, right, what am I kind of putting out there? And I think, unfortunately, with teenagers, we're not guiding them. Generally, I should say, in school, they're not guiding them like this. No. Right. And then, parents try their best, but sometimes it's like, oh, you're my parent, right? Like, what do you know, kind of thing. Right. So it's sometimes good to have just a neutral person to help that kid really think through what they already know. I think oftentimes I call it an internal GPS. That's my term for it. Because really, the more connected you get to what is important to you, at the end of the day, go inside, check it out. Does it fit? Is it not good for me? Is it good for me short-term, long-term, all those types of things? And then you can kind of make a better decision. Like, as a psychotherapist coach, that's kind of what I do. So I could see how this would be an amazing process.
And it's one of those things where So building on what you're saying, what has happened with Shine On, I had a client, that, like the logo, right? The way that it's designed, the shine and the on, there's like a little switch in the O.
Is there? Okay.
So, but what they said is that when they see this burst of color, they see a shield. And they
Oh,
said, I feel armed, like it's my armor. I've done the work. I've answered the questions. Nobody can like I don't know what it would be like, just affect their confidence, like bring them down, because this has armed them up and built them up, that they're secure in themselves, and that everybody knows they're a work in process, right? Like we're all just working on getting better at being who we are, who we're meant to be, the work we're meant to do. We're all just a work in process, and it takes the edge off. It takes that pressure off, right?
Right. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to get this perfect yesterday. And you're like, oh, goodness. I think of the evolution that I've gone through in my business.
Right.
And I'm like, always ready to like execute. But I was like, okay, hold on. What are you doing if you're shifting over? Like, I mean, what kind of things have to happen? And I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we're like, go, 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 go. I need to get to the end point. I need to get to transaction, to your point, except I haven't clarified what is my skill, what is my gift, what do I do, with people that makes them want to come back to see me over and over and over again, right? So I think when you get into that uniqueness and you get out there, really, who are you competing, or me competing? I'm not competing. I'm just being the best version of who I am.
Right.
And if someone wants to deal with me, they do. And if they don't want to deal with me, there's a better fit out there somewhere for them.
And you know what's really important to me, and I want this to come through, if nothing more, the most important part of it is that all I've done is put together a tool of asking questions. I am not an expert at all by any means, and make no claim to being able to help people with the answers. Okay. Sometimes when you ask somebody who they are, what is their why, what is their purpose in their life, this can be a very emotionally disrupting kind of question, and they need help. They need people like yourself, and they need someone professional to speak to. And all I'm doing is I needed to create a tool that's a map, that's just a landing page. It's somewhere to go to see the landscape, to see what this journey looks like. And then people need help with it. They need help with the answers. They need help if something really dark and disturbing comes up in their past, or something that's holding them back. That's then becomes the work to flush that through, to work it out, to get to the next step. So creating breakthroughs and creating that next level for that person's understanding of who they are and their confidence. Like, you can't build that if you don't address the things that hijack you or suspend your confidence. And so that's been the thing that's been the biggest gift in all of this, is that in creating a tool that's all about the questions, it leaves it free for whomever to incorporate into their work. So I've had in the professional space, in the business landscape, when people are running a business, they take their map to their accountant or their lawyer, or they go to their operations manager, or they go and they say, look, this is what we're trying to do. These are the W questions that we've answered. Here are the answers. This is the guiding points. This is the leadership that we're taking, the directions that we're giving. How now do we do this? What resources do we need? How do we execute against this? And it's one page, and everyone comes together and can clearly understand how to work within that construct. And I'm finding that the same is happening for the personal side. So
right.
They're doing wonderful workshops and retreats and masterminds and whatever they're doing out there in their personal development, the books that they're reading, the content they're consuming online, helps them with figuring out the answers. I'm helping too. I'm doing my best. I'm creating content and telling the stories. And I've created these hangouts in Facebook. I do Facebook Lives on Wednesday at 1:00. I do a Shine On Hangout for the Personal Clarity Map. So people can download the Personal Clarity Map for free. It's at shineonclaritymap.com. Sign up, download it, work those questions, and join a group of people. Like, come hang out. watch the videos, see what comes up. I am trying to contribute to that conversation and do some storytelling around it. But the feedback's been amazing. People messaging me, I get these private messages all the time. Lucy, I did your map and my anxiety's down when I go to work in the morning. I look at the map and I'm not as sad, and I don't think and dwell on the negatives. And I had someone message me the other day. It got me really emotional when they said, I'm able to understand what people mean about gratitude now. I can find things to be grateful for.
Mm,
and
nice.
I mean, that's fulfilling my purpose and fulfilling my work. So my map gets clearer because I get all these little check marks saying this is working, this is helping people feel good, you know? So that's how that's the ecosystem that I'm playing in right now.
It sounds very lovely, but I know I've worked with you and I know what you're like as a person and how much you give.
Thank you.
You know, you really do, and you bring it all when you work with someone. So I from working with you, and I've worked with other people since, you definitely do. So I think that authenticity, obviously, shine on is the process, but it's you really. That's what you give when you work with people, and I think it sounds like an amazing process. So Facebook Lives at 1:00 on Wednesdays. So Lucy, so really it's about, you know, clarity. Like with the clearer we get, you know, I'm a mental health expert. So the clearer I get with what I'm doing with the workplace, I'm clear and who I'm going to serve. So the clearer that your people that are kind of sitting there and they're like, they've got a concept in their brain, or maybe they're an entrepreneur, you know, that have been they're doing a bit, but are not really sure. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice would you give for someone like that at that point? That's kind of, I've tried coaching, it hasn't worked, or whatever. You know, what kind of advice would you give someone like that?
Well, what happens with my clients, typically how I end up working with them, is that they'll download and they'll connect in some way through social media with me, and they'll take a look at the clarity map and they'll see the questions and they'll see how that fits for them, how it feels. And when they see that it's a complete experience to go from 1 to 14, those questions that are laid out for them, what happens is, if they want the help in the professional world, if they're a business owner, if they're an entrepreneur, if they're a leader, like a manager, director in a company, what they do is reach out and they do a session with me. And we'll do a professional session. It's 90 minutes for the first one. We go through the map together and we see what we can uncover and how we can illuminate that process. So one-on-ones with me are very powerful because it's that dedicated time to think about where they're at. So that's the first step. And then when they have that experience, they can make that determination if this is the kind of work that's going to help them accelerate, get clear, do more of that taking action type of thing, where it's going to be effective and profitable for their business. So, or their careers even professionally. So that has been the cascade. It's been like, you can get to know the process and get a feel for it in the personal clarity map that's out there free for download. Get in touch with me and inquire if you want to book a session. And then we go from there. You instantly know after that first 90-minute session how much this type of process helps you.
Now, are you doing any workshops or anything locally soon?
I am planning on doing workshops. The scope of them, this is where I'm trying to get clear as well. There's not a lot of clarity around how I would do that and what the audience would be. I do them coming into businesses.
Okay.
I do those. Those are easy because the leadership decides and that gets booked and we have a morning or we have a full day, that type of thing. But out in the community at large right now, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to be doing like a monthly event, that kind of thing. I'm still figuring that out. So I like to get feedback and inquiries through social media or in my inbox, and I kind of go from there. Right now, it's not a clear point in my map. I'm going to admit that.
You mean you got to shine on the workshop end? Well, you know what?
We've got the clarity map. We've got the sessions.
Yeah.
We've got packages for sessions one-on-one, but in the group setting that's not within an organization itself, that one's not clear. But I am working. I mean, I'm ready to go. This is the work I'm committed to doing. So
awesome. Well, you've been obviously busy because I haven't seen you, I think, in about 8 or 9 months at least, I think. since we've seen each
Oh,
other
really?
last.
So
Yeah.
before the new year, I haven't seen you since I launched?
No.
Maybe only virtually.
Yeah, only virtually. Only
We need
virtually.
in person. We need.
I know we're 15 minutes apart. This is silly. So you know what, Lucy? This has been, again, as an entrepreneur myself, it really makes sense what you're saying, because I know how much I fluttered around and still really to some degree do. But now I'm clear on what I want to do. I want to speak, I want to train, I want to, and coach. And that's something that I've been, obviously doing a lot more. And I could have saved myself a lot of time had I kind of stuck with a process. But I think when you begin a business, you kind of touch things and then you're like, oh, I like this, I like that, I like this. But when you can become clearer, then you realize I got 7 hours in my day, where is my investment at the end of the, where do I need to take my time? So I think if this process that you're talking about helps people either, like you said, personally or professionally, that's definitely a gift.
I do have a goal of wanting Shine On to be a process that people go to first when they're starting out, because that will still allow for that that organic experiential side to come in, because you are feeling out the environment. You are determining how you're going to go into the marketplace to create a business and transact. And so that has to stay organic, and that creativity and innovation, all those things, they're not something you can control. So people need to be kind and gentle with themselves when they're starting a business, that they're entering this arena of discomfort and unpredictability, and that's okay, and that's part of it. But you can get grounded and get rooted in a process that's going to help grow and guide the decision making and how you actually implement things.
Well, it sounds lovely. So so if anybody's looking to connect, they can reach you on your website or on social media.
All over social media. I'm my handle is Lucy C. Dot, so LucyCdot, and shineonclaritymap.com is where you can start with the personal clarity map, and then just message me, DM me, personal message, and we can get the conversation started. And soon there will be an automated system for booking into my calendar for sessions. So that's coming.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks again. So, if I can kind of try to synopsize all the things they've learned, is when you're connected with the W's, all the W's, like Lucy said, who, what, when, and why, in reference to whatever that goal is, whether it's a career or a relationship or friendships or whatever it is, the clearer you become, then if you're off course or whether you're on direct route. At times, organically, you're going to get sidestepped. That's normal. That's life. But once you become clear, then I think your footing becomes more secure, so that if you get toppled a little bit, you don't completely get toppled, but you kind of can redirect yourself to where you need to be. So again, Lucy, thanks so much. For everyone listening again to Authentic Living with Roxanne, thank you for tuning in, and we will chat with you again next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Authentic Living with Roxanne, creating the space for positive, healthy change. Roxanne is a keynote speaker, psychotherapist, and coach. To work with Roxanne, visit roxannederhaj.com/blueprint. We'll see you next time on Authentic Living with Roxanne.